Uh-oh. I just have to do check-in. Hello, Sanya.
Hey.
Hello, Emily. Hello. Who else is here? Oh, 2 people. Hello, Alma. Let's see who else is here. Hello, Chetna. I think Deepika said she couldn't make it, and Cindy said she couldn't make it. So I turned off my camera because I know internet speeds vary. So if you guys want to do that, just so we don't take up too much internet speed. Give everyone a couple of minutes. Let me see if that's everyone. So Anna said maybe. So I think, who are we waiting for? Jennifer. We have a big group. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Awesome.
Great.
So let me do, so we're missing Jennifer and, oh, okay, Jennifer just messaged me, so let me try it again. Oh, we got someone who dropped. Let me write them back. Right. Let's see. Let me also message everyone else.
Hello.
Hello. And let me email. Almost everyone's here. We'll wait 2 more minutes. Let me message Anna, and I think Deepika and Cindy said they couldn't make it. So Anna said maybe, so I'm just going to still try and message her. There we go. Right. What time is it? All right. Thank you guys for your patience. I'm going to start soon. Well, I guess I'll introduce myself while we're waiting for everyone, since I wasn't able to get on the call last time. So my name is Finda, but my full name is Ihudia Findo Buru, and I was on the malaria project last year for Google Summer Code PM. And so me, Emily, and Cindy presented our idea to sisters to see if we could push it forward. And luckily, we're here today with you guys to push forward the idea of PowerUp. So my background is I have a bachelor's in IT, and I specialize in application development. And I recently graduated with a master's in education, specializing in educational technology. So I'll be the PM, but we'll also be counseling in roles here and there. Cindy and Emily are part of the user group, and I'll be supporting them on that end. and then we'll be relying on the mentors to be the experts at hand concerning developing a game in iOS and in Android. And then the mentees will be our implementers. And for our group, it's I guess we're very fortunate because you have all this support here. So definitely utilize it to ask questions, and it will definitely be an iterative process where we'll all be going back and forth to make sure that we produce the best game that we can. And keep in mind that Google Summer Code happens over several years, and open source coding doesn't happen just within one summer. So just I hope that we're all flexible in that, and I think the goal is to have everyone learn and just meet the deliverables as best as I can. But I understand that we have to be flexible. So on that point, I'm going to go ahead and start. I sent out the additional invites. But after this end of this meeting, we'll discuss another regular meeting, and if we prefer to do another doodle poll, or if we should just discuss it here. But welcome to the first meeting. I got the timeline from Chetna and Sanya, and so I'll be uploading that into Freenode, into our PM software. I'll probably be doing that later on today. I was wondering if either, so during these meetings typically, what it is usually a showcase and a Q&A of what the mentees have performed so far. All of us assist in answering questions and asking questions. And so previous years, it was either showing the code or showing documentation or showing the working app as it is so far. And also, it's also a time for the mentees to, just state what they've been learning, what issues they've been having, and to see if we can support them in any way possible. So with that in mind, I was wondering, Chetna and Sanya, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. If one of you could go over the timeline, and I know we've seen it via email, but just so that we can all hear it all together.
Okay, sure. So thank you, Finda. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you, Emily, and Cindy for graduating.
Thank you.
Yes, and so I think Chetna is not here with us. If you could send her an invite again. Hello?
Okay, I sent it.
Okay, so I think we go ahead and I'll discuss the timeline. So for this week, we were supposed to see the pros and cons of the database that we would use for the game. And we did our research in this week. And since both Chetna and I will use a common database so that we can coordinate well, so we zeroed down to SQLite because it serves all of our purposes. So we shared this document of, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I think everybody's on mute, or?
Yeah, we put ourselves on mute so no background noise. If you want, you can share your screen so we could follow you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so so we zeroed down our SQLite, and we did our research, and we shared the document with everybody of the database details. So we've made quite a few changes, revisions, and the last thing that we've updated, that is our final proposal for the database schema. So we were wondering if we could get your feedback on the same, if it's fine, or if you would like to give any feedback. If you want, I can discuss it in detail, or any part of the database that you'd like me to discuss, I can do that.
Sure, you can go ahead and discuss it. So.
Okay. So, like for keeping in mind the curriculum of the game mechanics,
Hey,
we
Sanya, is it possible if you could, do you have the doc in front of you? If you could share your screen?
okay, sure. Just a second. Okay, so can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. So so in this database schema, we have created one main table, which is which basically represents it has a primary key which will show the various scenarios or various conversations in the game. I wonder if you can all see it. You would have to go a little down in the document.
Okay, are you able to scroll down? Oh,
Can you see it?
uh, no. Are you able to scroll down, or is it
Wait, let me check.
okay?
Okay, I think we can't scroll down.
Oh, okay. No, I guess we can follow along. I think, yeah, I see you in the doc. So if you can put your, so that we can see where you're talking about. So you said there's this main table.
Mm-hmm. Can you scroll down and see the content of the main table?
The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So in that we have one primary key, which depicts a unique ID for the particular scenario or conversation.
Mhm.
I'm afraid not everybody can follow what I'm saying, maybe.
No, it's okay. We'll work it through, and we'll tell everyone to when we send out the video to review it. So if you can just be as clear as possible, so then when other people watch, they can follow through.
Oh, okay, sure. So I have one main table which is there for which has one primary key that will depict a unique ID for different scenarios and different conversations in the game. And then there are various subtables. So in the first subtable, which is also the inbuilt character subtable, that is there for the questions, like we would have one user and the other one would be the inbuilt character. So his side of the conversation, that would be there in this table. So there is one primary key which is referencing to the main table, and there's another queue number which is the ID for that question or that particular conversation. I wonder if should I go ahead?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, so and then there are various other attributes like question description and question description mainly. So this is basically for the inbuilt character, the side of the conversation of the inbuilt character. And then there is another table which is for the user responses. So this will have again primary key which references to the main table. Then it has queue number or the conversation ID which references to the inbuilt character table, and then it has options for example option A, option B, and option C. So this is for basically for the user responses. So this table is basically for that, and it also includes the powers that we have and the superpowers that we have. So it has a column for the points and the superpowers. So this is another table. And then we have again another table which is for global points. So this table basically maintains a tab of the points in the overall game. So this was basically made so that we can keep a track of the overall points in the game, so that we have a record of this when we resume to the game.
Okay. So I guess some of my. Oh, are you? I'm sorry. Did you have other to show?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, did you want to keep? Did you have? I had a question, but I wasn't sure if you were done still presenting.
No, I think I'm pretty much done, but I think it would be a lot more clear to you guys if you would go through the document.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So I guess my big questions are, when I set up do database development, I always think of the nouns of the things that we have. So I noticed you have one for the avatar, so we'll be keeping track of like the characters of the avatar, the score, and then I guess we'll have to play around with this question and answer, because I'm curious of how will you be able to keep track of what question goes to what answer, and then when to jump to the next option, because that's really big in multi choose your own adventure type games.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I noticed you separated them out. So you have the question ID. So how would it work?
So basically, in the user responses table, there is the question number or conversation ID, which has option number. So option number corresponds to the question ID or the conversation ID. So that we know that if conversation ID is 1, then its option number would be ABC. And then another attribute is next question, which would depict, if we choose that option, what question would it go to. So that's there in the user responses table.
Okay. And then I noticed that how would, like, so I sent you guys like a potential list. I think this was a question, but the curriculum developers would put the information in the CSV file with the key areas that I mentioned in that email. So how would your database support that? Is there a table that will take that all in, and then there'll be a SQL code that will put them in their respective parts? How do you plan to adjust that?
Actually, we were kind of discussing about that only. So we had a kind of doubt, but I was researching today. So for iOS platform, we can import CSV files into SQLite. So that can be done. So we can import that CSV files and we can import it into our SQLite database.
So how would you import it? Or yeah, I guess that's where in the database. And then mentors, let me know if I might be incorrect. Like where in the database would you import it? Would it just be like where would it like you would have a CSV file? Are you going to like query it, or what is the plan to import it?
As per my understanding, I think we would have our CSV files ready. So that would contain all the data that we want for the game, for the game mechanics to work. So importing those CSV files into the SQLite database, there is a fixed syntax. So if we use that, we can directly put the data in our database. but I'm not so sure how the game mechanics is going to work. If that's how it's going to work, if we are going to have like predefined CSV files, then I guess we can import them. But we were kind of discussing this point yesterday also with our mentors. So
Okay.
yes.
And concerning the curriculum, the plan is to have curriculum developers make it. Cindy's actually been working really hard to create like an actual sample scenario for you guys. And I know I outlined like what the specific aspects are. Concerning the strength and healing and invisibility items, could you restate how you guys plan to have it? I was thinking as though it's really not a focus, but to make that aspect, because I feel like having the superpowers is going to make the game super complicated. I think maybe having an option of when it is available or not in the game, but I think that might be something you would have to code. And
Okay.
it's very difficult to very difficult to explain it over online. So I apologize for that.
Okay, no problem.
Well,
I can totally understand.
What I'll do is I'll write up how we expect the superpowers to work, so that you guys can have a better understanding of how it would work in the game. So there was a couple of other questions that I saw that either you or Chetna had in terms of what I provided you. Do you want to go over those questions too?
Okay, so should I go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the first thing that I would like to ask is, how do we include the avatar dependency into our database? I mean, because we were really confused, though we have this attribute in our main table, but we are still kind of confused. How do we include that dependency in our database?
What do you mean by avatar dependency?
Because there was this assumption that we can allow for the conversation options with only the user's avatar. So, and also I think we will need points to obtain items for our avatar. So should we store it somewhere in our database? Is it required?
Let me open up what I sent you guys. Or actually, let me open up your Q&A. 1 second. Hold on. I have a lot of emails. I think this is it. No, I think this is the same one. Chetna, are you able to put the question in the chat box for us?
Hi, yeah, sure. I'll do that.
Okay. All right, cool. So then I can, or if you can put the link to that Google Doc that you both were working on.
Okay.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah, perfect. So, which question were you referring to, Sanya?
So.
Oh, okay. Allow for conversation options with only the user's avatar.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what I mean by that is the avatar will be talking to several different people, but only the avatar should have the option to, pick A or B. There should never be a different character that you can decide how that character respond. The person's own avatar should only be the only character in the game where they can select option A, B, or C. Does that clarify?
So that means that we would have to include this avatar, like something about the avatar in the database, because then only we can check, or we can query it.
Yes. So when I created like the sample curriculum parts, one thing I had is people keeping track of who is saying what. So it has scenario name and then character saying the comment. And then there won't always be options A, B, or C. There could be back and forth, like, hey, how are you? I'm fine, without any true options. Yes.
Yes.
So that's why I put, like, is there a response option, yes or no, or is it just a going back and forth conversation? And so let's see what the other questions were. Oh. Hello. Hey. What was that?
Oh, are you on a...
Yeah, it's all right.
Oh, no, I don't need it. I was going to come in. Let me know when you're done.
Okay. So I'm on a slight break. So that was my coworker. Let's see. Would we get this in the... Okay, so you're talking about... Let's see what the first question is. Points. Would we get this in the form of 4 powers? Would it be relative for an absolute value? So points will be an absolute value, and people can use the points to either get clothing or to get more powers. So it wouldn't be a specific power that they get. They can use it to either buy more powers or to get more points.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch. What did you mean by absolute powers, and how would they not be specific?
So yeah, you said would it be relative? So the point would be either like 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. And so in the game we call them karma points. And so if there'll be a specific area in the game where the user can go and use these points to either buy healing, buy strength, or telepathy, or they can use it to buy clothes. So let me see if I can pull up that screen to further explain you. 1 second.
Is that functionality of buying clothes meant to be included in the first version of the application?
If we get to it, we may not get to it. The goal for this first version is to get a working scenario, like people talking back and forth. But when you build the database and stuff, you still should consider these things. And then also with the talking back and forth, they'll be assigned certain points. So let me see if I can. So let me open up that screen real quick to share with you guys.
Okay.
Once again, I apologize. I have a tab problem, and I'm working on it. So let's see. All right. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen now so you guys can see. All right, so I'm sharing my screen, and let's go to the PowerUp. Can you guys see? Are you guys able to see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. So you have your initial selection screen where they can pick their eyes, hair, face, and clothes. They can only do that once. They can only do that once in the game. Then you have this area right here where they'll get karma points, where they can either choose a different hair. They can't change their eyes or nose, but they can get different accessories, or they can get different clothes, or they can add to their health and power. So if they want more healing, more strength, more invisibility, more telepathy, they can do that. And then that will also be shown here. So this is the points that I'm referring to. Points, we won't be notifying the user what kind of points that they'll be getting until like the end of a conversation or once they come to this stage. But certain conversations will lead to a certain amount of points. Users can't lose points, but they can gain points through their through their interactions. So let's see what the next question was. Does that clarify? Yes, no? Forever hold your peace?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then let's see what the next question is. Was wondering, why do we need the timestamp? So technically you really don't need the timestamp. I think I was just trying to like help you guys out, because you do need to remember the state of the character. Because the user, if there's two options when you enter the game, you can either start a new game, or you can go from the beginning of a. You can return to a previous game. Yeah. I know Java has like transient variables, and you may not need this timestamp, so that is a good catch. If you feel like you don't need it, then go ahead and just remove it. And then I covered the conversation one, and then what is this one? Okay, so you're wondering if we can use forms to fill in the database. So I think the last question we got covered, SQLite can already do CSV files. Keep in mind that the people who will be creating these CSV files won't have a lot of, will be focused more so on the curriculum. So in terms of, I saw you mention interacting with the database. So at the most, since they'll be focused on the curriculum, at the most in terms of uploading it, the hope would be it would just be like a browse button that they can locate the file and upload it into the game. It wouldn't be them actually touching code or touching the database within the game, because they'll be curriculum developers. They won't be software developers. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other additional questions? And
no,
Emily, feel free to chime in.
Just one more thing that like we have developed the database schema. So this was next up is we are supposed to implement the database. So what exactly does it mean? Because later on we are also supposed to create a database table and then upload the test sample content. So basically, what exactly are we supposed to do in the upcoming week?
Well, that's the goal of you guys making the timeline. If there was anything in the one sample I gave that you guys didn't understand, so you should be explaining that to me. What are you guys going to do next?
So we thought of implementing the database. So but like what content should we include in that? Should we include the sample conversation, the sex scenario that you shared with us initially? So should we like start filling up the database if you approve the database schema that we proposed?
So in terms of approving, I would rely on your mentors to go ahead and say if it's okay. And then I guess the big question is, what do you need from us? What is your next step based upon our conversation? Very much think of this as a real life scenario where me and Emily and Cindy could be your client. What do you need from us to successfully do your job? What are you working on next is the question. And all of us are flexible, so if you need more time doing something, just let us know. But so that's my question to you.
So like I said, if the database schema, if everybody is okay with it, so we would start, I don't know, we would start coding it maybe like in our respective platforms, and then we can start filling up the database so that we can, by the end of the week, we can get something and we can start testing it and removing any bugs in it or anything.
So Jennifer asked if you guys could post a link to your timeline. Would that be okay? I see. Yeah, Chetna dropped.
Yes. Um, so,
Thank you, Sanya, for leading this. We'll do a better job of making sure that both of you and Chetna get a talk. So I really appreciate you for this.
yeah, thank you. But I guess I was a little vague when I was discussing the database schema. So if you guys could go through it again, maybe so that it's more clear.
And then also if you could use images. I noticed you guys wrote a lot of out, and there were a couple of images at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
If you could use images to also portray the information. But if you can post your timeline, let's go through that together. And
Yeah, sure.
I would like to first maybe comment some things about the database, because we had a meeting yesterday about it, but I have some more comments
Okay.
before you start implementing it. One thing I think that would be useful is to have an ER diagram of the new database that you proposed, so it is actually clear.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday I think I wasn't really clear by the idea that I had, but even if you have a database where you store the information, that shouldn't be the place you should be going every time you need some information for the application, because that would be too inefficient. So what I would suggest is that even if you have that ER model where you store the information permanently, so when the user leaves the game, then you should still have a class diagram of the information that you will use while the application is running. So that once the user opens the game, you can translate from the database to that class diagram, and then you can store it in the end. Because I think that would be more efficient, and for you too when you're coding.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, ask me if you don't understand what I mean. But for example, in the database, you have a reference from the answers to the questions, and that is fine because you can have a query that gives you that information. But then in the Java code, it would make more sense to actually have a link from the question to the answer. So when you are in a question, you can just look for the answers related to that question. That could be in a list, for example, and then you can show them all. So it's quicker.
Okay.
So you could have something like a tree structure with the questions and the answers, for example.
Okay.
So I think it would be good if you can polish the database and the class diagram a little bit more. And once it is ready, then you can start implementing. And I think it will be easier.
Okay. So, like, you mean to say that when we are refining the database, we should also take into account the queries and like the code that we'll be implementing, so that it's the most efficient thing that we get?
Yes, what I mean is that you don't need to be going to the database every time you need something, because SQLite is not very suitable for that. So instead, when the user opens the application, you can load the information that you need into. In the case of Chetna Java code, or in your case, the same in iOS, and then you can just go through the Java code, and in the end, or when you need it, you store the information and you retrieve the new one.
Okay, sure. We'll make a note of this, and yes, we'll refine it accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, I will be ready to review anytime you have it.
Okay, sure. So I'll talk to Chetna tonight itself, and we'll make another one, or we'll make a revised one.
Okay, great.
And then I noticed I couldn't find it, but if you guys have the breakdown, so if you want to do it for this week, what your goals are, and when you plan to get them done, because I noticed that I still have the only the original version of your timeline, but once again, that was just a ask, it was like an ask, but if you don't have time to do it, that's fine too. But I did share the timeline with Jennifer, and yeah, just once again, I just wanted to encourage you guys. This is a learning opportunity, so if you need examples, you know, or more feedback, let us know. It's very interesting because we're all a global team. So just let us know how we can support you, and don't be afraid to ask questions, because we want you to. Once you finish this, you're gonna have Google Summary Code on your resume, and we want to make sure we do a good job of making sure you've learned the best that you can. So yeah, feel free to, like I said, ask questions. Don't be shy. And I think, does anyone have any additional comments or questions? I know time is, we're getting close to the end of time, so any other additional comments or questions?
Finda, I'm really sorry for the bad internet connection I have, but there's a question which I would really like to ask.
Sure.
So is the game a 3D stimulation, or are we working in a 2D world?
I think it's more of a 2D world. The game was inspired from like games like Zelda or Pokemon, where you have your avatar and you click A and B. So I believe those are 2D games, and those are not 3D games.
Okay.
Yeah.
And another question which I wanted to ask is, in an earlier mail you mentioned about the Sims app, where you talked about the creator room.
Yes. So I showed a picture earlier where with the points you can use that to, even in the beginning of the game, you can change the different characteristics of of a of a of a of the avatar. It wouldn't be as, because Sims is 3D, but it's a great example because people can customize their avatar, even upload different clothing for their avatar. So it was just like a general example of like, oh, this is a good example of what we're trying to recreate that's already out there. But ours would be in 2D, so it wouldn't be as difficult. But I would say the important part for next coming weeks is to focus on game mechanics and getting those conversation scenarios working. Definitely, it is open source, so check out what is currently out there that is best practices, and rely on your mentors to guide you in that area.
Okay.
So do you have any more questions or comments?
Chetna, do you have anything else?
Cool. I think yeah. All right, so my last thing is, and I think you guys are doing a great job. Continue to document your process and document, things you've learned, and even things that have been challenging through it all. It will be definitely useful as time goes on and as you look back on this process. So the last thing I wanted to discuss is the next meeting time. I know Cindy said she couldn't make this time, but is this a good time for the majority of people, or should I send out another doodle? How are you guys feeling?
I'm okay with this time, so I think I will be available.
And then mentors and mentees and Emily.
I'm actually moving this weekend, so I am not yet sure about the time that will be most convenient for me.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say that I'm probably going to be available in the evenings in Pacific time, although that's like the late evening on Eastern time, but that's sort of the morning in sort of Europe and India. So we can figure something out, I'm sure.
So I guess what it's sounding like is, what I'll do is I'll send another doodle so that we can figure out a more reasonable time for most of us to get there. And what I'll also do is I'll send a follow-up just in case if the mentees miss the meeting, because this time is definitely for the mentees to display and showcase their work. So I'll discuss how we typically what typically happens if a mentee is not able to make the meeting. And of course, these will be recorded so that for those who are unable to make it, we'll have them for people to view during their own time. So I guess, let's see. I think that's all in my agenda, but I guess this was a great first meeting. The goal is to have bi-weekly meetings, so we won't meet next week, but the week after. So that should give mentors and mentees ample time to talk and discuss things, and also provide more space to to see a larger amounts of the process. But with that in mind, feel free to communicate with us via email, and I am available via Hangout if you guys just want to talk. And typically what I do is throughout this entire summer, I try to check in with everyone to see how they're doing. So please expect an email from me sometime throughout the summer, just wanting to chat and seeing how the process is going. So yeah, I look forward to meeting with you all again, and great work, Sanya and Chetna, and we'll talk soon.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Take
Thanks
care.
so much, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.